Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS. I'm with Alex today.
Hey guys.
And in today's video, we're going to ponder. Has YuGiOh gotten too confusing?
So guys, this video really is about me because as a casual player, I really don't get what's happening most of the time when I'm playing. There are these things called timings and opportunities that I miss.
Right,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, the idea is really that, like, you know, if you've been playing YuGiOh this whole time, you probably still know what's going on. You know, you're fine. The question is YuGiOh like too confusing for a returning player or a new player, or has it kind of gotten to the point where even just a casual player doesn't get it? And like you said, I feel like Alex was fitting because for those of you who don't know, Alex is probably the most casual player of the bunch.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that. In fact, some people would probably say the opposite. You're a saint now, you know, casual player.
I have the least amount of fun.
Yeah, so we thought like this would kind of be fitting because, you know, in YuGiOh, it's only kind of gotten more complicated over the years, right?
Yeah, believe me, the game is not getting any easier.
Yeah, and there are three main reasons I kind of cite that for, and we're going to talk about each one. The first one being the card text. Just the amount of it, the nature of it, a lot of that stuff. Let's compare, right? Let's take an old card. What's an old card?
Ooh,
Something with a basic effect, just some
Happy
monster.
Lover.
Happy Lover.
I don't remember.
Wait, isn't that vanilla monster?
It might be. Shining Friendship?
That's also a vanilla monster.
Sweet Angel?
Wait, which one's that?
The pink one? Oh, that's a vanilla monster. Okay.
We're really bad at this. See, this is why. No, okay, so an old card, something like...
Man-Eater Bug.
Yeah, Man-Eater Bug, right, you know. Flip effect, destroys a monster in the field when it's flipped face up. Not a big deal. These days, though, let's take something like, you know, a Burning Abyss monster.
Or, let's say, Pot of Taboo, so it's also a flip monster.
Yeah, even the flip monsters have gotten crazier. But I just, you know, take these basic monsters like Burning Abyss, where if it's in your hand, you can summon it. And then when it's summoned, you know, if you have a monster that's not a Burning Abyss, it blows itself up. And then when it's sent to the grave, it does something else. And it's just kind of like so many monsters now are just like that. Right? Where like they just have all these different effects and like something in the hand, something in the field, something when they die, something when it's in the grave, you can banish it and do another thing. And it's like if you're used to playing it, that's fine, but
yeah, it makes the game nice and dynamic, but if you're new and don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and then we've got like problem solving card text, right? So, you know, Konami's taken steps to improve this. Problem solving card text being that new sort of style of writing and terminology. What's like, you know, piercing and things like that, right?
Yeah.
It helps, but even then, it's not like always really clear. There's not even really an official source to like find out exactly what it means most of the time. So I mean, I feel like just even that isn't necessarily great. But I think it's the volume of text, right?
Yeah. The problem solving card text only really helps people who knew what it was ahead of time.
Yeah, that's actually true. And you know, something involving that too is like, based on when your card was printed, they've used different terminology.
That is so annoying.
Because like old cards like literally would say something different than like how new cards would word the same effect. It's hard to think of examples off the top of my head, but I just feel like that's kind of how it is.
Ooh, Ninja 2 Iron Transformation.
Oh yeah, that's true.
When I read it, I was like, is this a cost?
Yeah, he plays ninjas, by the way, so.
You might see it one day.
Yeah, back in the day, actually, costs were pretty, like, up in the air in terms of, like, you know, was this a cost or is it not? Like, now we know there's, like, a semicolon and stuff, but, you know, so those are just the basics things. Like, then we've got the archetypes themselves that have gotten far more complex these days.
Oh, yeah. I miss heroes already.
Yeah, like, at least heroes were simple. Great example would be Ritual Beasts.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the quintessential example.
Oh yeah, Ritual Beasts.
You're a Ritual Beast player. You know
they
what's
do
like.
Everything. They've got the complex naming scheme. Like they've got 3 different types of monsters you're working with. You got your Tamers, your Spiritual Beasts, and your Ritual Beast ulti monsters.
And then the window, which is like all.
She's like two
both.
of them in one, so she's awesome. And if you had a deck of only her, it'd be one thing.
Yeah, and then also they contact fuse, breaking the rules of fusion. There's no polymerization involved. And they
can
uncontact.
uncontact fuse just as quickly.
And the same turn, and it's chainable, and the Ritual Beast monsters can only be special summoned once per turn.
So you have to keep that in mind every time you use any of those effects.
I've actually always felt like when I'm playing Ritual Beast, it almost feels as if like there's like 3 different Banish zones.
I had 3 different Banish zones at first.
Because what? There's the one for
One for things that you add to your Banish zone with Ulti Cannon Hawk
and Gold Sark. Yeah.
One for anything that you special summoned once already this turn that you can't bring back, and then your general one.
Yeah. Then there's just the Banish, and it's just kind of like, what? You know what I mean? Like that's so much to keep up with. And the worst part is, like, not only do you have to keep up with it, but your opponent has to keep up with it too. And I know, like, you're supposed to be attentive,
but you're asking a lot from any one duelist to say, hey, I'm playing Ritual Beast, so watch everything.
Yeah, and then you can't forget that, like, there's like Ambush and Steeds. There's all these cards, and you know, and like Ritual Beast is only one example. Like I said earlier, Burning Abyss. I actually feel like, despite being not as bad, Cosmos are like, you know, the whole like pilots that can run away. So it's like, oh, if I use Fiendish Chain on this card, it can run and then it does a thing, and you know, so a lot of, you know, archetypes have all of these different mechanics. And I compare Ritual Beast to something like Gladiator Beasts, where Gladiator Beasts were just a simple form.
Yeah, they were what started the problem.
Like, they tagged down, they could contact fuse, but it wasn't nearly as, you know, it wasn't chainable like how Ritual Beasts are.
Yeah. And they didn't have the weird restrictions around it either.
Right, that too. And so there's a lot of archetypes now that kind of are like that. They just feel like they're almost too complicated for like a new person to pick up. I'm trying to think of a more recent one.
What is that? What about...
Ultra Athletes come to mind.
Did it?
Kaiju's kind of come to mind.
I was going to say Kaiju.
Yeah, Kaiju's kind of come to mind.
No one's used to that.
They're a little bit crazy. There's like Psy-Frames too. That's one. Oh God, they have their quirks. And you know, don't get me wrong. I think that the complexity is good, right? Like, you know, having a lot of sophisticated archetypes.
It makes you think more as a player.
But it just means there's a lot to keep up with. And the last point is the summoning mechanics themselves. And, you know, I'm sure people have a go at this one.
Oh yeah, we all know you've got gripes, guys. Let them out.
Yeah. You know, no extra deck allowed. No, but you know, like, synchros were basic. When they came out, synchros were not much more complicated than fusions.
Yeah,
you had a tuner, you had a non-tuner.
The tuner was a poly.
Yeah, and they just, it's like your tuner was a poly. And there's the levels add up, you make your synchro. Good, done, pretty simple. Then Xyz come along.
Kinda was not the best thing.
Yeah.
It introduced types of monsters that didn't have levels anymore.
Yeah, which means, you know, you're...
No more level area limit B on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gravity Bind doesn't work.
Yeah, Gravity Bind like doesn't work. In addition to the fact that it introduces like overlaying, which Yu-Gi-Oh's never really had, and you know, you overlay these cards and now they're not cards on the field anymore.
Yeah, so certain effects will and will not work now. Right,
so like one thing will resolve, like, you know, Reborn Tengu or Sangen, those were big controversial cards when Xyz came out, didn't get their effects. But, you know, Burning Abyss monsters do. So, you know, it kind of feels like, well, what gives, right? Like, it feels unfair.
It's a weird wording issue.
Why does like one card work this way and one card work that way? And then, you know, like when Xyz monsters get revived, they don't have the materials.
So they're basically just little beat sticks. Not big beat sticks, little beat sticks.
And so it's complicated. And then we get pendulums, you know, like...
Hey, there's 2 new zones.
Yeah, 2 new zones. We're monsters here. We're spells here.
And we don't go to the grave if we're on a field when we're destroyed.
But we do go to the grave if we get discarded from your hand, or sent from your deck, or detached as Xyz material. But if we're fused with or synchroed with, we still, like, what gives, you know? Oh, and not just do we go to the extra deck, we're going to extra deck face up.
Oh, yeah,
you know, that's an important distinction. You know?
Don't be careful with that thing. Don't shuffle your extra deck.
That to me is, you know, that really, I feel like, can make it tough for like a new person to pick up this game. It's actually a fundamentally different rule.
Yeah, it only gets worse from there.
Because interlink monsters,
yay!
Woo! That literally almost undo everything from the past 5-6 years. In addition to just kind of introducing
just another new type of monster.
Another new type of monster with its own quirks. They don't have defense and
remove some very old rules from the game.
Yeah, so you can't flip them face down, and they have these. So instead of having like link scales on the side or pendulum scales on the side of them, they've got like link arrows.
Just one little link zone on the field.
And your arrows determine where you can do other things, and it's just like,
It's like, yeah, guys, you can special summon just once in this little space right here, unless you bring out a Link monster that lets you do it even more.
And did we mention there are 2 ways to summon your Link monsters? Even better, you can do it this way or you can do it this way. And where do they go when they die? I don't even know.
That's a very good question.
So, all in all, right, what are the ups and downs, the confusingness, or we'll use a nice word, sophistication. Sophisticated game. Yeah. High praising word. But what would you say, like, is it good or bad that there's so much to keep up with and learn when you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, what do you think?
Well, as a casual player, it's always rewarding to learn more about the game, to get better at these higher level ways of playing. At the same time, though, it's crazy and intimidating to try because just learning situations where you're supposed to play a card and when you're not. Casual versus competitive. Casual play, you don't notice any of that. Competitive, that's all your opponent is looking for.
Yeah, all these that's a good one actually. Just the activation windows. Prime example being Maxi.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I can't beat Alec and Paul for that very reason because they are looking for situations that I simply am just learning about now.
Yeah, I feel like, there's the whole like, oh, you can't use Maxi to respond to a summon that doesn't start a chain. How do you know this summon doesn't start a chain? I feel like for new people, that's crazy.
Yeah, like how do you know when's the best time to make the best work out of your card?
Right, and that I do agree is probably one of the other just annoying parts.
And then just knowing general rules that you can break and get a judge called on you for. So.
And now, what about if you were trying to teach this to a friend? Would you say that this is something you would even attempt to try to teach a friend? How difficult would that be?
Okay, first of all, I will always try to teach people Yu-Gi-Oh because I'm vain. But on that note, it's going to be really difficult. You'd have to start them off slow. Teach them one mechanic at a time.
And see, the problem is I don't even feel like starter decks can do the job anymore. There's too much in the game for a starter deck to teach you everything.
Yeah, it definitely won't teach you everything, and you won't feel like a good player for it.
Yeah, it's tricky, but I mean, I guess, so what's our final verdict? Is Yu-Gi-Oh! Too confusing? Yeah, what do you say? I say yes.
Oh god, yes.
Yeah. I say yes, it is. I say if you've been playing, if you're a competitive player, or you just kind of been playing for a while, it's fine.
Yeah. But for people walking in on the ground floor, it can be incredibly intimidating.
So we want to hear from you. What do you think? Is Yu-Gi-Oh! Too confusing? How can this problem be resolved? Like, how can this be fixed? If it even can be, is it just kind of one of those things where that's the nature of the game? If you don't like it, play something else. We want to know. Leave it down in the comments. We'll be responding, reading your answers. I don't think we're leaving anything out. So check us out on social media.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe.
All that nice stuff. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.